The pot stock's getting smoked today as a short seller targets one pot stock, calling it the dark side of the cannabis space. Let's get to Bob Pisani at the New York Stock Exchange for the details. Hey, Bob.
Pink Floyd, I'm getting flashbacks. Marijuana stocks have been melting up this year, but pot names came under pressure today after noted short seller Citron Research made a bearish call on Cronos Group. Now, this morning, Citron's Andrew Left set a price target of $3.50, projecting a drop of roughly 70% from where Cronos traded prior to the call. Now, Citron argues that Cronos, quote, appears to have been deceiving the investing public by purposely not disclosing the size of its distribution agreements with provinces, unlike every other major cannabis player, close quote. Citron goes on to say that sources tell them that in reality, the agreements are too small to justify the premium investors are paying for the stock, and they could be looking at a securities fraud case. The stock fell another 10% midday. FactSet noted that Copperfield Research also made negative comments in the form of a string of tweets. Shortly after 1 p.m. Eastern Time, shares of Cronos plummeted 30%. Its worst day in 4 years. Trading in the stock was briefly halted midday. Other pot players like Canopy Growth, Aurora, and Tilray, they're all down 3 to 4% on those calls. Those still up double digits for the month. Now, these warnings come, of course, as cannabis growers are waiting for Canada to legalize the recreational use of marijuana this fall, and money pours into the pot space from beverage makers looking for potential partnerships in the pot space. Keep playing that Pink Floyd. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Bob. Thanks. Bob Pisani at the New York Stock Exchange. Well, infamous short seller Andrew Left of Citron Research joins us now to explain why he thinks Cronos is the dark side of the cannabis space. Andrew, great to have you with us. So the stock is down 30%. I have to ask you this right off the bat. Are you still short Cronos right now, or did you cover?
Oh, I'm definitely still short the stock, no doubt.
Okay. So how does this play out? Because what you're alleging is pretty serious. I mean, you're basically saying that there could be securities fraud here. So,
yeah, well, first of all, Melissa.
Okay,
first
Andrew.
Of all, why do I have to be infamous? Can't I just be famous one day, or just Andrew Left? But that's okay.
Well known. Whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's okay. Moving beyond that, even if there's nothing wrong with the company, even if everything is fine with the company, then the stock's $3.50. If I want to give them the same multiple as all their peers, who I don't think have the same issues that they have, the stock's $3.50. So that's being generous to them. And that we're talking U.S. here, okay? So why would I not be short the stock? It's a very competitive industry. I think they're a subpar player. I think they have a lot of issues with disclosure, with production, with the commercialization of their product. I think they've overpromised. And I think they're trading way out of whack with the rest of the industry. $3.50 with no problems. If I believe everything they say, it's $3.50.
Okay. So let's start with what you think the company is being deceptive about. One issue was that they did not tell investors in which provinces they had distribution agreements. Why is that so key? Isn't it more important the size of that agreement or how much they're distributing to the overall market and not necessarily whether or not they're doing it in Quebec or some other province?
No, exactly. And that's what it was. They disclose they have it in the provinces, but they are not disclosing the size of the agreements. And if you look at their competitors, they are disclosing the size.
So you want to know the size as opposed to we're doing business in Quebec. Fill in the blanks on how big.
Exactly. Everyone else gives more disclosure. You should give the same amount of disclosure.
What does the company say to you when you say, you know, I think you should disclose the size of the amount of business that you're doing in this announcement?
Let's put something in perspective.
Are they saying we're not going to give it to you?
Hold on. I didn't call the company and ask them. They put it in press releases. When you put out a press release, let's put it this way. The stock is up 50% this month. I think like 400% this year. So it's not like anything's crazy. It should have never been where it was yesterday. And it should never be where it is right now. The stock will trade down to $3.50. There's no reason for it to be up 50% in the past month.
Okay. In terms of what else the company should or should not be doing, Andrew, you're saying in one of your assertions that the company has a product recall history, that has had several product recalls. Now, an analyst who covers the company in Canada says that some of the product recalls can't be actually pinned to the current management team. They acquired another company, and that company had a product recall before Cronos acquired it. Another product recall, for instance, was voluntary. Why should that be a huge issue?
Okay, how does this sound? You ready? The company was making a big deal that they're starting to sell in Germany. Germany, I mean, the words that were used were so grandiose in the press release, it was amazing. And it turned out to be, it was minuscule. It was a few $100,000. And they discussed it on Q1 and never discussed it Q2. So my curiosity is, where did this thing go in Germany Q2? Sure enough, you start reading Leafly and you see they recalled for pesticides the cannabis bought. Okay, now, what makes it interesting to me is 2 days after the recall, I don't know if exactly 2 days, slightly after the recall, without disclosing an AK, and here's a company that loves to make assertions, they raised $100 million from the street. They could have easily said, we had a recall, we can fix this, not that big of a deal long term, but no. So I think sometimes securities fraud can be the lack of disclosure as much as, disclosing. And they should have disclosed that before they raised their $100 million.
So, Andrew, it's David Seaburg. Quick, that wasn't a material event for the company. It was 1 kilogram of product equal to roughly $1,000. I mean, it's not material at all to their earnings. As a matter of fact, you talk about Germany. I mean, Germany, they were breaking out line item in Germany in Q1. They didn't line item it in Q2 because the provinces were getting actually frustrated with the fact that these companies were selling product internationally where the margins are better when there's a shortage in Canada. So they decided not to break it out. So you can't make the assessment that there's fraud under that strategy.
The irony of that is that nothing is material to their financials.
Yeah, but the problem is you say fraud. You use the word fraud, and every tape reading algo hears that, reads it, and they act on it.
What I said,
you use the word fraud. It scares the heck out of investors that haven't invested in the stock. It prevents them from buying it. And it forces a purge in the name.
Okay, what I did is in this, I asked the question, could it be? And you know what? Many people would say you should disclose that, whether it be, if you have a pesticide in your, I don't want to say it's like a Chipotle, hey, 1 burrito got bad or 2 burritos got bad if no one disclosed it. If there was a recall of your product, okay, from what could be a potentially big customer, that should be disclosed regardless of the size.
A voluntary recall in a scenario like this doesn't matter. It's not relevant and it's not material. And therefore, this guy's a lawyer. The CEO of this company is a corporate lawyer. I mean, he understands the game. He understands this process. I mean, he's not going to screw things up. Really? So I say to you, the word fraud scares the heck out of investors.
Well, listen, what should scare investors in this company is that's one point. If that was the whole story, David, then we could go back and forth, okay? But that is one part of a larger mosaic of a story. The stock is $3.50 at best, like I said, with no problems, no recalls. We're selling to Germany. It's great. Our plans in Israel, Australia, wherever we say, everything's going to work as planned. The stock's $3.50. That's the important thing.
Andrew, it's Guy. So maybe if you didn't come on wearing Johnny Cash dress in black, maybe we would say you weren't a villain. That's
and
number
by the
one.
way, hold on. And the big shout out, and not me, a big shout out to Tim Seymour, who yesterday, before I even put it out, Tim Seymour put it in his bucket of kicking this one out. So I have to give Tim
So that was going to be my follow-on. This is an indictment of Cronos specifically. I mean, do you believe in the cannabis space, though, or do you think the entire space is sort of, my word, not yours, fugazi?
That's a good question. The space is real. The hype is not. Margins will get compressed. The cost per gram will go down significantly. Look what happened in Washington State. Things will get overstated. The one thing I will not underestimate is I would not short and I would not buy Canopy. I think the Constellation deals, it's very blue sky. What happens with the cannabis drinks, I do believe in that. But at the same time, there will be significant margin compression, and these farmers, people who have the farms, I think many of them will go out of business. If you cannot keep your cost per gram down, which is the biggest problem that Cronos is having right now, because they're reliant on these indoor facilities and they're moving towards greenhouse facilities. If you can't keep that cost per gram down, then you're going to go out of business.
All right. And last question, Andrew. You're short. You say you remain short. When did you put that short on, and will you take that short down to 350?
Oh, I don't. Come on, Melissa, you always ask that question, and it's irrelevant when I put it on or when I'm going to take it off. What's relevant is the information
here's what's
that's in the
relevant.
report.
Here's what's relevant to people watching. Are you just as short the stock right now as you were at the beginning of the day?
I took a small size of the position off today. Yes.
Okay.
But I'm still extremely short this stock. I believe the stock trades down to where it was just 3 weeks ago, $6.
Okay.
And then right down to $3.50. Yeah.
Andrew, great to speak with you. Thank you. Well-known short seller, Andrew Left of Citron Research. We should note that we did reach out to Cronos and invited the CEO on the show to respond to Andrew. Instead, a company representative provided us with this statement. We do not comment on short seller reports, so there is not a statement we can have you read on air. We can, however, assure the public that our securities offerings have been underwritten by reputable banks and our respected advisors have done all the necessary due diligence under both U.S. and Canadian securities law. Let's trade it. David. Do you invest in Cronos? Or
No, my view is I agree with.
Because you sounded like you're defending
I'm
it.
I'm defending it on one side. I defend the aspect of fraud. When you use the word fraud, that's a big boy word, and you better be prepared to defend it. So I'm not saying the stock is a buy here. I'm not saying that it's not potentially overvalued just based on, from the standpoint where it's trading versus the peers. There's no question it was overvalued, and Tim made a great call yesterday. However, using the word fraud is a very scary thing. And what's going to happen over the next several days is you're going to see headlines hit the tape about class action lawsuits if you've owned the stock during this period of time, given the fact there's been a fraudulent accusation against the company, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see that occur over the next several weeks, months, whatever. So I look at it and say that's going to keep pressure on the stock, undue pressure. I don't think there's fraud here.
Is it overvalued?
Is it overvalued? Look, it's probably a stretch overvalued.
All right.
Do I think it's a 350 stock? I don't.